Well, a great and good afternoon to everybody. Well, okay, some of you it might actually be good morning still, depending on where you are. In fact, one person, by the way, my name is Scott Rosen. I'm Executive Vice President here at the IFW and your research champion, Manny. I'll let everybody, including you, know what that is a little later. Speaking of which, I'd like to introduce our special guest with us today, Manny Martinez, who is president of Copa Wealth Strategies. And believe it or not, he's an IFW certified professional. Manny, welcome to on this Friday. Tell everybody who you are.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Yeah, Manny Martinez, president of Copa Wealth Strategies. I've been in financial services about 34, almost 35 years now. So it's been a long time. Started out in New York, now working out of Oregon, but helping clients across the country. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next stop is then Southern California and then Florida. This way you got the four corners going.
I got to hit Hawaii first. Just keep going.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, today we're going to talk about, and one reason Manny is definitely here is he's got expertise in some areas, is we're going to talk about using life insurance. Yes, life insurance in retirement. Words you don't necessarily hear that often. We're going to try and do this in 22 minutes. That's our promise. But after that, we'll have Q&A. We'll stay as long for the Q&A as necessary, hopefully a long time, because, Manny, believe it or not, it's my favorite part, tends to be everybody's favorite part as well. But nonetheless, we want to get through this in 22 minutes. So what exactly is life insurance and how does it fit into retirement planning? Well, you know what? Most people, when they hear life insurance, what do they think? Manny, what do you think they think?
Probably death benefit.
Exactly. They don't realize that how does death benefit fit into my retirement planning? Well, actually, there are more people that use life insurance for what's called its living benefits than the actual, shall we say, death benefits, more than you realize. And the funny thing is, Manny, it's called life insurance, right? Yeah, maybe we should change the name to ice cream. What do you think? Look, everybody, look how he's laughing like that. And that's because, hey, who doesn't like ice cream? But life insurance can be a huge part of your retirement planning. Now, there are different types of policies. Manny, do me a favor, take a minute or so, and would you mind going through it? Let people know some of the basics of the differences.
Sure. I mean, the two basic types that most people are aware of are term insurance and whole life insurance. Universal life is another type of permanent life insurance. Whole life is a type of permanent life insurance. So I really categorize them into two different buckets. Term insurance being temporary. Usually have term insurance through work. It's good for the amount of time you're at the job. If you get private insurance, term insurance lasts either 10, 15, 20, sometimes up to 30 years. After which time it expires, whereas whole life or universal life policies have cash value and tend to be permanent insurance, meaning that at some point you can have enough dividends being generated such that you can stop paying for the policy and it's always going to be in your life forever. So even if you pass away at 95, God willing, you can leave that death benefit behind to your loved one. So it doesn't go away or expire the way term does. And there's pros and cons to either one, and there's no cookie cutter answers to which one is better or worse. You just have to understand each policy and how it works for each individual.
In fact, doesn't whole life have the most, for people out there who are like, hey, I like guarantees. I like that G word. Isn't whole life the one that has virtual guarantees on everything? Not virtual, actual guarantees on everything?
It does. It has guaranteed level premiums. It has guaranteed minimum death benefits that tend to grow over time. Yeah, they never expire as long as you keep paying for your policy premiums, no matter what happens in the market, whether the stock market goes up or down or this or that, or inflation does whatever it does, it's always going to be permanently in place and guaranteed to pay out in one of several ways, either the death benefit when you pass away, cash value, which is kind of tax deferred or tax efficient equity in the policy, or a lot of policies now also have what's called living benefits or long-term care riders that allow you to dip into the death benefit while you're living. That's why they call it living benefit, so that you can actually meet some of those expenses that tend to come along when you're a little older.
You know what I like about it as well is even the cash value in whole life is guaranteed. You have a minimum guaranteed cash value. I mean, it's great because you have guaranteed, you know, in any particular year, you're going to have at least this much cash, this much, and your premium never changes. In fact, the only one that can change it is you. Now, on universal life, can you just take 20 seconds, 30 seconds? A lot of people ask about something called an indexed universal life. How would you describe that?
An index universal life is a way for your policy cash value to grow as the stock market grows. Those policies they tend to be tied to a stock market index, for example, the S&P 500. So as the S&P 500 grows, you get to participate in that growth. Not 100% of it, maybe 80%. It depends on the policy, but you tend to, and then maybe there may be a cap in terms of how far it can grow. But on the flip side, when the market goes down, when the S&P 500 goes down, you typically don't suffer any losses in your cash value. So you give up a little bit on the upside for no losses on the downside. It's a great way to keep growth in your cash value life insurance that's tied to a stock market index without participating directly in the stock market itself.
So let me get this straight. Last year, I don't even remember what it was. Last year seems so long ago. We're closer to next Christmas than last Christmas. Merry Christmas, by the way. But if last year the S&P, as an example, was at 10%, that doesn't mean you did, maybe you did 8, whatever it was, but you had upside, depending on what it was. But if the market were negative, God forbid, negative 10, or like 2008, negative 38%, you would be at zero?
Zero, or even there are policies where the minimum is a 2% credit on the S&P, for example. So when in that example, when the S&P is negative 40, you could be a positive 2. But most typical IULs, have a minimum of 0. But
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm good at it. Trust me. So basically, I want to make sure I get this straight. So if everybody else is complaining about losing money, your worst case scenario is you kind of broke even.
That's right.
Oh, okay. I'm liking that. All right. So now, life insurance used for retirement as a financial tool, supplementing retirement income. How, most people watching, when they think life insurance, we talked about death benefit. They don't think about it in terms of, I'm going to use it for retirement. How can somebody honestly and simply use life insurance to supplement their retirement income?
Well, to me, there are 3 ways that you can use particularly a permanent life insurance policy, like whole life or IULs, but let's say whole life, for example, that can help you in retirement. Number 1 is the cash value. I think about it as equity in the policy, where you can actually take money out of your policy to supplement your income. So if you need an extra $50,000 this year because something happened, an emergency, you can actually dip into your policy and take cash value out of that policy in order to supplement your retirement income. That's number 1. Number 2 is the living benefits, as we keep talking about them. So if you ever suffer some sort of a heart attack, a stroke, or something that puts you in a home for temporarily, or you need help in your home, well, one alternative is to dip into your retirement savings, which means you have less to then use later on, or you can dip into your life insurance policy. So it helps you in retirement in that way as well. And the third one that isn't talked about a whole lot is the fact that you have death benefit in your life permanently in place, meaning that life insurance policy is going to go to all your beneficiaries, wife, husband, kids, grandkids, means if they're taken care of with the life insurance policy, I can then use all of my retirement income, 401ks, IRAs, Roths, etc., for me, for my own consumption. I don't have to worry about my family because they're taken care of with life insurance, which means I can spend more money on me. So the fact that the death benefit exists has a benefit to me by allowing me to use more of my retirement income for me without having to carve some of it out to leave to them upon my death.
So what you're saying, because that's really a cool point. In fact, I didn't even think of that. Is basically, you can use the money in, like, for instance, the whole life or whatever it is, to supplement your retirement, take it out, and it's tax-free, if I'm correct. But you can also use it in such a way as maybe you don't necessarily take it out, maybe you do, but knowing there's a death benefit there allows you to be able to spend down all of your other assets, knowing that there's still the money for your children. And I know, Manny, I don't look any older than you, but I actually have 4 grandchildren. So I would definitely want some of it go to my 4 grandchildren. And now, based on your point, I could spend down my other stuff knowing that they're still going to get tax-free dollars.
That's
Is that
correct. That's correct.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Does this also mean that knowing that the money is there and we'll call it safe, and it's a death benefit, and depending on what you did, it's you don't have to worry about it. Does that mean you can also, I don't want to say take more chances, but you can be a little more assertive, aggressive with your other money, knowing that your family's taken care of? Is that ever something you do or would do?
Absolutely. So when I do financial planning for my clients, I look at the entire picture. So their entire risk, I first determine their risk appetite. Are they a risk taker? Or they're risk averse? I look at their portfolios. Are they in real estate and stocks and bonds and this and that? I look at it in the entire picture. And if they have a good amount of their assets in safe money, bonds, cash value life insurance, other things, that means that overall they can take more risk elsewhere. They can go into a business venture. They can take more chances on crypto or Bitcoin if they want, or whatever the case would be. I don't deal with that all that much, but my point is, overall, they would still have a balanced portfolio because some of it is safe and guaranteed, and some of it is more risk, has more risk, but overall they have a well-balanced portfolio. So yes, your point is well taken, that allows them to take more risk in other parts of their retirement planning because they have this safe, guaranteed piece already taken care of.
Excellent. Now, we talked about it earlier. Look, you life insurance, it's foremost and basic. Let's make sure we're clear about this. Life insurance has death benefit, and death benefit is there to protect your family, as Manny and I have been alluding to. And of course, it provides the peace of mind that everybody would want. When my head hits the pillow, I love knowing my wife and family is protected. Manny, I can't imagine you're any different on that.
That's right.
So now, when it comes to managing risks with life insurance, can you go into the longevity risk with this and talk about how it can play with not just life insurance, but annuities?
Sure. So, as we have developed, medical technologies and have been able to prolong life expectancy, the good thing is we live longer. The bad news is we tend to, have different issues that come along, health issues that come along with that age. So the longer we live, the more we have to plan. So a combination of life insurance and annuities kind of makes sense for many people. Whereas, if you have life insurance in place where you die tomorrow or at age 100, that life insurance is going to kick in to take care of any beneficiaries that you love and you will leave behind. Annuities also have a way of increasing your level of success in retirement, because annuities, especially when you turn on guaranteed lifetime income, has a way of making sure that no matter what happens, you'll never be able to outlive your money. That's the biggest fear that people have in retirement is, am I gonna live to a point where I've run out of money, and then what? Annuities have a way of protecting that scenario.
Very good. Excellent. So with life insurance, there's a lot of interesting myths out there. One of them being, well, it's too expensive. Can you give us any examples, or can you talk about that? Is life insurance, I'm not saying it's cheap, but is it really too expensive in retirement?
Actually, it is not too expensive for retirement. It all depends on the individual. So, I always tell people the best, this is an old saying, was the best time to plant a tree 50 years ago? When's the next best time? Today. So a lot of times when I meet someone, the younger you go into a life insurance conversation, the better. You're certainly younger, and age has an effect on the premium. You're typically as healthy as you're going to be, because age comes with certain health issues typically. So it doesn't have to be expensive as long as you do your planning as early as possible in your life. And I alluded to this before, where these policies are designed so that after a certain amount of time, 12, 15, 18, 20 years of paying your premium, you can actually stop paying for the premium. The premium gets paid by the internal dividends that are generated from the policy. So it actually becomes free, quote unquote, after a while in terms of the premium. And furthermore, depending on how these policies are structured, the cash value, the equity, the cash in your policy after a certain number of years is more than the total amount of premiums you've put in. So if I put in, 10,000, but I can get out 20, is it expensive? No, I've made 20 in my example.
And you still have the death benefit.
And you still have the death benefit, you still have the living benefits, you still have the long-term care cover, you still have the ability to take care of your kids and grandkids and all of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So now I want to phrase this right. Can you tell me any examples by chance of where putting life insurance in somebody's retirement planning made a difference? Really quick example, because I want to make sure we get to the 22 minutes.
Sure. Yeah. I've worked with many people who have, they're doing a decent amount of savings. For example, a lot of people they max out their 401ks. They typically get a 5% match, but they're putting in 10, 20% into up to the cap, into the 401ks. What I often do is look at having them continue to put the money into the 401k up to the match and taking the excess above that into life insurance, and therefore getting to retirement with both equity in terms of the 401k and life insurance, right? So that it allows them to have the best of both worlds. You have all your money that you need for your retirement. You have all the stuff that you need that we keep talking about for life insurance. That's a very simple way to look at not having it cost you any more money out of pocket, just diverting some of the money you're putting into one asset and putting it into life insurance instead.
And of course, as you get older, if you have life, the nice thing is the premium stays the same. You may be getting older, but your premium stays the same.
And you typically make more money as you get older. You get, bonuses, you get higher compensation. So it winds up feeling less expensive over time too.
And what's nice is if you actually have to use the long-term care part of your policy, you're actually using part of the death benefit. So it's going to get used. The nice thing is it's guaranteed to get used one way or the other.
That's right.
Now, let's move. We're going to segue now, Manny. And by the way, thanks for everything on that. We're going to segue into how life insurance and using it in retirement could work using the IFW retirement score. And this is where, what the heck is the IFW retirement score? The score is a likelihood percentage of you achieving your dreams and goals in retirement. Manny, it's you know this better than anyone. It's like a credit score. The higher your score, the better your life is. And how is it exactly calculated? Well, it's not based on how Manny and I are feeling today. It's based on math and science. It uses an algorithm called the Monte Carlo simulation. Manny, guess how long the Monte Carlo simulation has been around from?
Probably a long time. I
don't know. A long time. About 1948.
Yeah.
It's named after casinos. And what do we know about casinos, everybody? The house always wins. I hate that. The house always wins. Well, through our patent pending software, still waiting here, but it's patent pending, now you become the house. And what exactly happens here? Well, first of all, Manny, the question I tend to get is, how much does this cost? And it's complimentary. And by the way, complimentary means free, just in case. Want to make sure we're clear on this. But, people can be skeptical, and who can blame them? Because the next question usually is, well, okay, it's complimentary. How do you make money? We make money by licensing our software to financial professionals all around the country, like, people in Oregon, like Manny as an example, as well as many people around the country, financial professionals use our marketing as well. That's how we make our money and how we're able to do this complimentary. But more importantly, and Manny can attest to this because he's one of our IFW certified professionals, it's customized. It's not cookie cutter. Two of you, as you can see, Manny and I are twins. We look exactly alike, right? Of course not. He's obviously much better looking, but more importantly, we're different people. I'm here in Southeast Florida where it's hotter. He's in Oregon where it probably is better temperatures at night, at least. Point being is that no two of you are the same. So even if all of you had the exact same amount of money, your score would be different. Now, how do we do that? Well, first of all, let me bring something up here. There are people out there, Manny, that like to what I call check the box, so to speak, and get things done sooner. So I'm going to do this. Give me a moment, and there it is. So bottom left, top right. What you can do is you can click the link. Some people are here from a previous webinar. Hit enter, you put in your email, you hit enter again, and then wait about 10, 15 seconds and the calendar comes up. Now I do that specifically because all of you, I hope, will sign up to get your complimentary retirement score. But when you do, what exactly happens? A concierge will call you. They will get information from you, none of it invasive. We don't need, Manny, you can attest to this. We don't need social security numbers. We don't need account numbers. Clearly don't need credit card numbers. In fact, we'll need things like, well, do you have a 401k? Well, how much is in there? We need to know that. But we don't even need to know, like, if it's 50% bonds, 50 stocks. I don't even need to know it's Home Depot or IBM. Just 50 bonds cash. So nothing invasive. It takes inflation and taxes into account. It takes what you want to spend in retirement into account. And it also talks about, Manny talked about it earlier, lifespan. Now that can be awkward, but still it takes it into account. And of course, Manny, the overall, when do you want to retire? I'm sure there are some people out there going, what time is it? But there's some people like myself, and I think you as well, that I love doing this. And I enjoy my Friday at 1 o'clock, my Monday at 7, I get to, show off a little bit. And I love it because there's so much good stuff here. I don't know if show off's the right word. But anyway, at the end of the day, you get that information from a concierge who then sets a time for you to meet with somebody like Manny, who's outstanding. And Manny will actually tell you what your score is, which can range from 0 to 100. Now, I don't see very many 100s, but then again, I don't see very many 0s, 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s either. But, needless to say, the higher your score, the better. Now, Manny, bear me out on this. Is it true? And we're at 122, so I want to get to Q&A real fast. Is it true, would you say, because I believe that roughly 20% of the time, people have a score that's already good enough and, they don't need to do anything. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, and I think they like knowing that that's the case. They just, are able to get another confirmation from a retirement expert, and that's valuable in and of itself, even if you don't wind up working with us.
Can you give us an example, real world example, of a case where you did this for somebody and it made a difference in their life?
Yeah. I had a client who I used to work with this person back in Citigroup when I was in investment banking. A lot of assets. She wasn't going to fail in retirement at all, but she had a score in the 60s. I forget exactly, maybe 64, 65. And we were able to get her a score above 90%, meaning that she was able to spend more money than she thought she'd be able to in retirement. Again, not to say that she was necessarily going to fail in retirement, but able to spend more money without taking any additional risk, was a godsend to her. She was able to, bake in a lot more travel than she would have otherwise thought that she could do.
Wow, traveling in retirement. Who would think such a thing?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what the retirement score is all about, everybody. It's a great way to stress test where you stand. And also, the thing about what Manny's talking about, we're not going to go into what he did, but I'm going to say that what Manny did and what happens so often is he made an adjustment to what she was doing. And she didn't have to spend more. Manny, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm willing to bet she didn't have to spend money to do this. She made an adjustment, and you were able to show her how she could actually be in the 90%, be now one of the 20% I'm talking about, and spend more money.
That's right. Just a reallocation of her current assets. You don't have to do anything different other than take some money out of here and put it over there and have a better result.
Wow. I hope she's at least bringing you back a T-shirt from her travel. All right, Manny, it's time for our favorite part. Before we do, because it's 124. I kind of was close to it, but we get excited and we're talking about things. We're trying to give you a lot of good information in a very short time. Bottom left, top right, you can get your score. And I don't know, you might be with somebody like, if not Manny, like Manny, that's for sure. And find out what your score is. In the meantime, Manny, it's time for Q&A. I love Q&A. Now, it usually takes a minute to get somebody to ask a question. You can ask Manny and myself a question about what we've talked about with life insurance. For that matter, to ask a question about Social Security, taxes. We'd love to answer your questions. And there really are no stupid questions. So please ask a question. We'd love to be able to stick, and we'll stay as long as you like for questions. So I'm going to put it in the chat box. Hopefully I spell everything right. I actually put it in there once and spelled things wrong. It's kind of embarrassing. Put your questions here. There you go. So please, if you have a question, put it in the chat box. Manny and I will be happy to answer it. There's still, looks like at least 35 of you here. Thank you for being here, by the way, and spending your Friday morning, afternoon with us. We appreciate it. So we're waiting for some questions. In the meantime, let's make sure you understand. Your retirement score can help you, as Manny put it beautifully a second ago. And you know what, Manny, you say it again. You said it's a great way for people to double check themselves in a way.
Yeah, it's a way to get confirmation. If you're heading in a direction you don't want to go down, you want to know that now, not the day before you retire, because there's not much you can do potentially. And at worst case, you feel better knowing that the road that you're on is the one you should have been on, and that you're going to make it through retirement based on your own planning. So that has a value in and of itself, even if you don't wind up needing or wanting to work with an IFW advisor. It still has value.
We have our first question. I love it. Hopefully this will open the floodgates. David, thank you for the question. What about the new IRA inheritance law? What are the new provisions? You're my guest, Manny. I always, well, I can answer it. I'd like it to offer.
I'll have any law questions. I defer to anyone else other than me.
Well, if you're talking about what was the Secure 2.0 Act passed in December of 2020, I can't remember if it was 22 or 22, I believe. Yeah. If somebody inherits an IRA, they have to spend it down within 10 years. You can't stretch it anymore the way you used to. So, but you have 10 years now, and there are rules. You can't just, you can't take it the day before the 10 years. You actually have to take a certain amount every year with it completely spent or taken out of the IRA within 10 years. Saying, the IRS, they're not dumb. They want their money, and they found ways of getting it. Sorry.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. It's 10 years as of the death of the individual who left it. Yeah, not 10 years starting when the person inherits it, because I'm working with a client right now that has an inherited IRA. She just got through the paperwork of getting it, transferred over to her, but the husband passed away in 17 or 18. So the clock started then.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, so that's something to be careful of, that, the different reasons as to why she's going through bankruptcy, whatever. So there's reasons why that, she hasn't been able to do it, but the clock started back then. So just be careful about that.
Good to know. You know what? They see, that's why Manny's here. I love the compliment and complimenting each other. Christine asked a question. Is it smart to buy an annuity at 63? And what is reasonable for a yearly fee? So I think she kind of privated that one. So is it smart to buy an annuity at age 63? What are your thoughts on that, Manny?
Well, I always say it depends, right? Because it depends on what else is going on in terms of cash flow and assets and whatever. Can it play a major and very significantly positive role in your retirement? Absolutely. So the goal is to take a look and see how it can play a role. There's no age restriction as to when it does or doesn't make sense. I've worked with many 60 plus, age people who have put some of their money into an annuity, either for the guaranteed growth, for the guaranteed income, or other things that are part of the planning. In terms of the fee, a lot of the annuities that I help people implement have no fee. So if you think about, a 1 to 1.5, sometimes 2% fee of that portion of your assets in an IRA or in some managed account that you're paying to an investment advisor, when you take that portion and buy an annuity with it, and you take away the fee, right? You wind up saving money in that way as well. So these policies these annuity policies typically are no fee type of products.
I would say, Christine, as well, to piggyback on what Manny was saying, is that it's smart to look at I can't speak today, Manny, to possibly look at it. It's not dumb, because you with somebody like Manny can quickly figure out, does this make sense or not? I mean, it's breakfast. Am I going to have lobster thermidor? Well, I guess you could, but it's going to be an interesting day. But at the same time, that's my cockamamie analogy. What can I tell you? The point is here is, I don't know, it's not smart or dumb. What is smart is look at what it is with someone like Manny in reference to your score. Does it help increase your score? Does it help you move, the analogy being move the ball forward? Does it help you have a better retirement? If the answer is yes, then you can then drill down and go, does it have a fee? And is that fee worth paying? Because just because something does have a fee doesn't mean it's not worth it. It just means you need to be aware of it and go, I'm getting a value for that fee that I can live with. Great question, though. Love that question.
Another thing I'd like to add real quick, Scott. So in this day and age where we continue to hit all-time highs in the stock market, a lot of people have worked 20, 30, 40 years to amass whatever wealth and whatever retirement accounts they have. It would be a shame to lose 30, 40% to the market like we did in '08. So one strategy can be to take a portion of the assets that you absolutely cannot suffer losing, because you at least need that to make life work in retirement, and put that into something that has the guarantees that only an annuity can provide. You'll never suffer a loss from that portion of your retirement portfolio that's in an annuity. So, it's not about putting all your money in one basket. It's about, strategically putting a sufficient amount such that you'll never suffer a loss on that part of your portfolio. So again, it's about, everything is individualized, as Scott said earlier. Nothing's cookie cutter. So I'd recommend, whether it's me or someone else, that you talk to someone and do the analysis and see what makes sense.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you. Everybody, we still have 33 people joining us. I love it. But come on, there's got to be at least 5 questions. Remember, can ask us whatever it could be about annuities that we have. It could be about tax law. And here's the thing. I said earlier, I'm the research champion, Manny. What I mean is, hopefully we can answer the questions. But if I can't answer the question, I'm going to say so. And then I get to do something I enjoy doing, and that's research. Now, it's going to come as a shock. I don't go to many parties. But at the same time, we'll find out the answer so we can tell you. David's got another question. How should we view the health of Social Security and Medicare going forward? That's a loaded question. Manny, do you want to take any part of that?
Like I said, anything that has to do, you can take that one. I'll jump in as I see fit.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, first of all, there's 2 there, because there's the health of Social Security and then there's the health of Medicare. And they're 2 very different things. The Social Security Trust Fund report came out like February, and I read it cover to cover. Like I said, not many parties, but it showed this. If Congress does not act by 2034, the Social Security Trust Fund will run out of money. This is where many people get panicky, thinking that they're not going to get Social Security. That's not the case. Because what the report said was, okay, the trust fund runs out, but there still will be enough money coming in that can still pay roughly 77% of your benefit. So if you're getting $1,000 a month and the trust fund were to run out, you would then get $770. So you'd still get Social Security, but needless to say, you would get both. You would get less, unless Congress acts. Now, hopefully Congress will. Usually, in many cases, they wait till, of course, the very last second, but they usually act. And there are things they can do. Now, if we flip it to Medicare, very different story. Medicare eats up a huge chunk of the federal budget. In fact, if you go to irs.gov, everybody's favorite site, they actually have a page. You can even put it in there, government spending, and you will be able to see an actual what the majority of what is spent and money being spent on Social Security. And you'll see the 3 biggest ones are defense. That's not a shock. Social Security, and the third one being, Medicare. It's endangering the fact that it's becoming more and more of our budget, because there are more and more people turning 65 every single day. And something's going to have to be done to make sure we have either other things have to be cut, or taxes have to be raised, or Medicare benefits will have to be changed. What exactly will happen? I hate to say stay tuned. I don't mean flippant about it in any way, but that's the state of where Medicare is right now. We're all in limbo because the government has to act. And I think where our part is putting pressure on the government to act now instead of waiting till the day before. In fact, I heard Manny say that. You don't wait till the day before. And Manny, anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, I think that was great.
Appreciate it. He's good for my ego, everyone. Elizabeth asked, my mother is 67 years old. Can she withdraw all of her 401k and use it to purchase an annuity? Are there penalties associated with that? Manny, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So in terms of can she could maybe, right? But one of the things you have to understand with annuities is that there are rules around suitability. How much of someone's assets can be in an annuity? An annuity is something where you typically take a chunk of money, put into an annuity, kind of marinates it, unless it's one of these immediate income annuities, marinates for 7, 10, 15 years, depending, again, on the person and their income needs. And because of the lack of liquidity, they want to make sure you have assets elsewhere, assets in the bank, money in the stock market, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a suitability test that has to be done when we apply for one of these annuities, so that if she has plenty of assets elsewhere, maybe she can do, and maybe it's the right answer to put 100% of her 401k into an annuity. If that's all she has, as an example, I don't know if she does or not, then we're going to be limited in terms of how much of that 401k can go into an annuity. It could be 30, 40, 50% or thereabouts as a top number. So the answer is, could she? Maybe, depending on what else she has. And in terms of any penalties, if the money is available for rollover from the 401k, then there are no penalties to roll it over. There's no taxes to pay because you're going from one qualified account. A 401k and IRA is a qualified account, meaning that it's tax deferred. You're not paying taxes on it now. You're paying taxes on it when you take the money out of your 401k. And when you put it into an annuity, the same thing, the same tax consequence. So there's no tax impact. There's no penalty to roll it out of the 401k into an annuity. So there's really no penalties to talk of as far as that goes. So I don't know if you have something else to add, Scott.
Yeah, well, the annuity at that point would become an IRA. The only time there would be a tax, Elizabeth, is if you would take that IRA and convert it to a Roth. And, Elizabeth, it would sound like one of the best things to do is have your mother sign up for the SCORE, because what's great about it is it's not like we get you a SCORE and that's it, it's done, it's, nothing more. It's different scenarios can be run, shown in different ways to find out what would be most advantageous for your mother. So if you want, and for her, maybe you could sign up for her SCORE, and then if it's someone like Manny who gets it, he can run and say, look, if you do it like this, here's what happens. If you do it like that, here's what happens. If you do it like this, you can go crazy. But the point being is you can show different scenarios to show you what would work best. Great question. Hopefully that answers your question as well. I don't see any other questions. I love it though. It's almost 1:40. We'll stay, take questions. Manny, hopefully you can stay till tomorrow. For another 10 minutes at least, give or take.
Yeah.
Everybody, we'll keep them for a little while. All right, let's see if I've got something more here. Oh, you're more than welcome. Elizabeth said thank you. And I love it when everybody does that, says thank you and blah, blah, blah. I love the engagement. In fact, everybody, do me a favor. And this is important. We're talking about the IFW retirement score. Bottom left, top right, you click it, you put in your email, you hit enter, wait about 10, 15 seconds. A calendar comes up to make it easy for you to do this. Nothing invasive, and it's complimentary. But the one thing about this is we're talking about retirement. There's still 29 people here. Everybody, tell me, in retirement, what do you want to do? Of course, so many people want to travel. You even said it on the client you talked about. So you can now do more travel. Yeah. But not everybody travel. You're not going to travel all year. Now there are people out. I know some people that will play golf literally every day of the week if they can. David, you are more than welcome. I love it. I'm glad we love doing this. It's fun, isn't it? We're trying to make it fun. But also think about this. You know, in the case Manny was talking about, she can now do what she wants to do, and that's travel. For me personally, I know I don't look any older than Manny, but I have 4 grandchildren, and it is my job. In fact, I know it's somewhere in the Constitution where I am supposed to spoil the living heck out of them and give them back. That costs money, believe me. But I also love model trains. Yes, I'm a geek and a nerd. We know this. But that costs, and I'd love to buy them train sets. Manny, do you have any idea how much a good train set costs?
I've heard it's expensive.
Yeah, it is. It is. What do you want to do? In fact, Manny, putting you on the spot just a little bit. You're retired. You're wearing your pants up to your chest, putting on white shoes, complaining about the government full time. While you're doing all that, though, what do you see yourself doing in retirement that you're going to enjoy?
I mean, one of the things, it's not, I don't necessarily have to go to all of them, but one of the things that's been on my bucket list is seeing some of the big, very famous ballparks, baseball parks.
Really?
Haven't been to Fenway, I haven't seen the Cubs in their stadium,
Wrigley.
The field, you know, so that's one of the things I want to do. But again, to your point, it's also giving yourself the flexibility to be able to do what you don't yet know you want to do. Again, not waiting till the end to you know, let's say you're 65, you retire, you're kind of just, you know, lazing around at home. Now you're 70, you go, ooh, I want to take up trains, or I want to take up travel. Well, if you haven't done the work when you're 50 or 55 or whatever to allow you to do that at 70, you can't. You don't have the flexibility. Whereas if you do the planning, you get the score, you put everything in place, you generate as much income as you possibly can in retirement, you can choose to spend the money or you can choose not to spend the money. But that flexibility and that choice is the goal here, because, you know, life tends to change over time. And so you want to be able to put yourself in the best position to do whatever it is that your heart wants later in life.
All right. Good. You know what? I love that. I love how you put that. Something I consider is you may not know what you want to necessarily do in retirement until you actually get to retirement.
But I can guarantee you one thing: it's going to take money.
Oh yeah, mostly that's for sure. Unless it's sleeping, and even that's going to take money.
Right.
Christine followed up with a question: can you take money out of an annuity, and if so, how long do you have to wait after you put it in? So Christine's asking, all right, I put money into an annuity. Can I take money out, or do I have to wait? And if so, how long do I have to wait?
Yeah, so back in the olden days, annuities were structured so that when you put money into an annuity, it's kind of locked away for a certain period of time. The new annuities have the ability to provide free withdrawals. So let's say 10% of the money you put in, you can take out free of any penalties immediately. You know, from doing the annuity. It's fully available for you to take the entire amount out after a surrender period. And the surrender period really depends on the annuity that you decide to choose. It could be a 5-year surrender period, a 7, 10, even a 15-year surrender period. The longer the surrender period, the more potential growth you have in the annuity, the more bonuses some companies give you for allowing them to keep your money for that long. So really, again, there's a balance between bonuses and liquidity, et cetera. But most annuities nowadays allow you to take a free withdrawal up to 10%, sometimes even higher. They tend to accumulate. Their products where if you don't take the 10% in the first year, you can take up to 20% penalty free in the second year. If you still haven't taken any money out, you can take up to 30% penalty free in the third year, et cetera, up to maybe a max of 50% of it after 5 years. But again, there are different products out there depending on what you think your need will be, but there are options for taking money out without any penalties.
Fair enough. One more time, I'm going to put it up there again so people can do this. Bottom left, top right, you click the link, you put in your email. Now you're not quite done. You hit enter, you wait about 10-15 seconds, and the calendar will come up, and you pick and choose the day and time. It's yours. Well, you know what, everybody? First of all, great questions. Loved answering them. Loved being here. David, thank you for saying, thanks for sharing. Hopefully, again, our point was to give you some good information and things that you can actually use that can help you. In the meantime, Danny, I think it's time for us to go. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'm going to leave the link up so people can still sign up if they want to. But in the meantime, Manny, thank you very much for being here. I truly hope you come back and do this again.
I appreciate it. I had fun. Thank you.
I hope you did. Thanks for being here. All the best. And for everybody else, from all of us here to all of you, a great rest of your Friday, great weekend, and nothing but good things to all of you and your families. Take care, everybody.